So welcome back to Good Vibrations. I'm chatting today with Chris Spivey, who we've had on a couple of times before. How you doing, Chris?
I'm not too bad, Mark. You all right?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. So people might like to go back and check out the two previous volumes that we've recorded. The first one was summer 2013, and it was in the wake of the Lee Rigby Woolwich fiasco. And that was Chris's initial findings on that particular event or non-event. And then we spoke again in the early part of this year about institutionalised paedophilia and the sick, depraved cesspit that is the British establishment. Nothing much has changed there. Well, it's probably got a bit worse. But people might want to check that one out as well. It's all in the Good Vibrations archives. And for anyone that's new to Chris's work, check out his website, chrisspivey.org. He's got a very unique writing style, you might say. And the way I think of it, Chris, is, you call a spade and a cunt, basically.
Yeah, well, you've got a mark, haven't you? I mean, I do sort of get a bit criticised for it, which pisses me off a little bit, actually, because no one forces anyone to read my stuff. But there's so many people talking about these things, and with a sort of like mediocre interest, whereas I seem to cause controversy with the way I report it. But if you call someone a bugger, it's not the same as calling someone a cunt. Do you know?
Really,
and you can put a lot more emphasis onto these sort of people, and the type of person they are, by calling them a cunt rather than a bugger or a bounder or cad.
So, that's what I mean by your unique style, but obviously it gets you noticed, it gets your articles talked about, and it makes impact. And that's what any journalist and writer is trying to do at the end of the day.
It does, Mark, and sorry to but the thing is, my readership is mainly over 35, professional people, and among them, there are vets, there are policemen, there are serving soldiers, ex-forces, professional people, not, what the government labels scroungers and people out of work. There's a lot of professional people, and I say they're mainly older. So anyone who thinks that, it's a site for yobbos or whatever would be very wrong.
It's a site for adults, basically, and people that think for themselves.
Exactly.
Okay, so we're going to get into some specifics later on, particularly about the Woolwich thing, insofar as you're able to talk about it, and we'll go into the reasons for that as well. And also I want to touch on the ISIS beheading, in inverted commas, video, which has emerged this week as we speak. But just to start off with, could you give us your view on where we're currently at in the UK in terms of the race, because it feels like a race to me, between people waking up and smelling the coffee and coming to the begrudging realisation that the world is nothing like they thought it was, and the control system throwing everything they've got at us to try and lock us down? Are we winning at the moment?
Nah, well, you just mentioned the ISIS video, the beheading, and that is quite crucial to this part of this topic that we're talking about here, because as you know, I was arrested in the middle of the night on suspicion of a misdemeanor, and they sent 4 thugs, because there wasn't policemen, 4 thugs at just after 1:15 in the morning, around to my house where I live with my 18-year-old daughter and my 1-year-old grandchild, and as they arrested me on suspicion of harassment, which I don't see how you can arrest anyone on suspicion of harassment. You're either harassing someone or you're not.
Well, yeah.
On top of that, I say that they was very in my face, trying to get me to react violently, and it was very rude to my daughter, who was very frightened, and they stole my computers. They didn't take them legally. They stole them, Mark. Let's be very, very, very clear here. They stole my computers. Okay, on Section 32. Now, Section 32 quite clearly states that you can only search and take a person's property under Section 32 if it's for an indictable crime.
Have you had them back
harassment. Yet? Sorry, no, I haven't. No,
right.
No. That's another story in itself, Mark. But I say so. They searched my place and they stole my computers. They didn't search properly. In fact, they did a fingertip search in my daughter's bedroom, which when my 1-year-old grandson was asleep. And when I say fingertip search, they had all her clothes out of the drawers. They went through every purse, every bag, every possible way in there. And then me and my daughter and her 2 friends, when they arrived, were confined in there. And they was very, very rude to my daughter's friends who had come to sit, because obviously we knew by then that they was going to take me down to the station once they'd finished going through my stuff. So she called a couple of friends and they turned up, and they wasn't allowed to come in unless they give their name, their address, their age, and all this, And I say that was very rude to them. And they spent an hour and a half in the living room here. No one was allowed to be in here with them when they did. And I don't know what they was doing, Mark, but they've taken 2 computers and a keyboard and whatnot. But apart from that, across the other side of the room, and it's not a massive living room, I don't know, probably about 14, 15 foot long. In one corner, there's a cupboard, and in that cupboard there's a hard drive, an old hard drive, which they never took, so obviously they didn't look in there. And on the other side, the far side of the room, there's a coffee table with a shelf underneath. And on that, there's a laptop computer. And they didn't take that either. So they didn't even search that half the room. So what they was doing in here for an hour and a half, I have no idea, unless they were bugging the place.
Well, yeah.
But they didn't search anywhere else. They didn't search in my bedroom. They didn't search the bathroom. They didn't search the kitchen, or indeed the cupboard, the walk-in cupboard in the hallway. Didn't search any of them. Almost like they got bored.
Yeah. Why would they search? Why would they search your daughter's bedroom and not yours when you're the suspect?
Exactly, Mark. And I say they searched my daughter's bedroom first off, and they was doing that before I'd even, because they didn't want to show me a copy of Section 32 to start with. There was three men and 1 woman, and the woman had already gone in there and started searching. Well, we was sort of arguing the toss, and I say they didn't want to show me Section 32. When they finally did, he showed me it he wouldn't let me actually hold the piece of paper to read it. He just sort of held it out for me to read. But straight away, I picked up on this. It had been an indictable offence, and I was saying, like, you ain't searching, you're not on. Although she'd already started searching, I'm saying, you're not doing this. It's illegal. And that stage, I wouldn't say they shit themselves, Mark. That would be wrong. I say, because they was very aggressive and very rude. Yeah. But there was a change about them, and unsure of themselves. And one of them went off to make a phone call, obviously, and come back and said, yes, we are allowed to do it. We are allowed to do it. But I mean, the choice they gave them, they said I can either sort of stay here and be a good boy while they search, or they can take me down the Nick now. And they're still going to search. And with my daughter here, I say, who was very, very frightened, never been through anything like that before, I had no choice really but to, be a good boy. And let them search. I told my daughter to film it, as we're quite entitled to, on her phone. They told her, if you film it, they'll take the phone away from her. Now, this is the only mode of communication that she had, So once again, we couldn't afford for her to be without, being able to contact people and whatnot. So we couldn't film, which was, as quite within our rights to do so. But they told her categorically, if she films, they're going to take the phone away from her. So once again, I say, and that's how it was, Mark. And then they had me down the station, and I was down the station till nearly 6:30.
And subsequent to that, you had the call from social services attempting to instigate taking your grandson into care.
Exactly.
And this might shed some light on what the real purpose of that visit was. And it also indicates just how much the police and social services are working in cahoots with each other. And it would seem that taking kids into the care so-called system is used as a weapon of intimidation and enforcing compliance in many cases.
Yeah. See, originally what I thought it was. Now, I'm not exactly sure how it works, but it's my understanding that if there's children in a property, the police have to sort of report it to the social services. But I do think that only is in certain crimes, not every single crime. But I'm not sure. But anyway, originally I thought they'd been contacted because of the arrest, and when the social worker he turned up at the door, knocked on the door, and as it happened, I had Clayton in my arms, my grandson, in my arms when I answered the door, and when she started about it, I said, it was an arrest for harassment, nothing. And she said that it was nothing to do with that. The police referred the case because the baby's bedroom, or my daughter's bedroom, was untidy. His cot sheets were dirty, and we were smoking in there. Now, the place was untidy because it's 1:30 in the morning, and you have my daughter and my baby grandson in there, you're sleeping, but it wasn't what you call, over the top. But they made it a mess by their fingertip search. As for his sheets were clean on the night before, so they couldn't have been dirty. And yes, I was smoking them because I smoke a lot. I was standing at the window smoking because I was absolutely fucking fuming, And but by the same token, smoking in your own home, if they're going to take kids off of you for that, most of the population is going to go of children. There's no law against smoking.
Well,
it
is still a free will choice. The last time I checked, in your own home.
Exactly. I don't know. I don't sit him on my lap and blow smoke in his face. Mark, don't get me wrong. But like you say, even if I wanted to do that, that's not against the law. Do you know?
Well, it's only because they care, Chris. They care. They care about these kids.
Of course they. I'm quite a forceful personality. And I don't take no shit from anyone, but someone taking, like a single mother on her own, without someone like me behind her, could easily be intimidated and whatnot. And you can see why this is why they're targeting single young mothers and taking their babies off them, because they don't know what the law is, and they can't stand up. Then, they haven't got the vocabulary or intelligence, if you like, to sort of compete against these people, and they get railroaded and tricked into doing things which leads to their children being taken. And I say it's quite easy to see how. And the clear message to me was, we've arrested you on a misdemeanor or suspicion of a misdemeanor in the middle of the night using, intimidatory methods. We've got the social service on your back now. And if you don't shut up, they're going to crush you.
Yeah, I think reading between the lines, I think anyone can see what's really going on there and what the real message is as a result of this event. Have you been told where the original claim of harassment came from?
I've been told nothing, Mark. Nothing. Now, according to The Sun, it was from Lynn Rigby. They was adamant about that. Whether that's true or not, I don't know.
So she's a big reader of your website then, because the only place, as far as I can see, that you've posted your observations is on your own website.
This is the thing, Mark. Yes, that's other people do use my work, but that I don't.
But you've not been posting copies of your articles to Lynn Rigby or sending emails to her, or
ever spoken to Lynn Rigby or left anything, because I wouldn't leave anything on anybody's walls, because then you're going to get attacked, and then you either left it, and you can waste hours and hours and hours going backwards and forwards and getting nowhere.
Yeah.
So I would never post on anyone's wall anyway. I've never spoken to any of the Rigby family, or indeed anyone to do with Woolwich, apart from two people, one person, and I've had contact with another, who both contacted me. Now get that, contacted me. Yeah, on my bail, I'm not allowed to contact them. Although I never have anyway. But now the strange thing is, I was interviewed by two special branch, CID, whatever, for a misdemeanor. who were from Essex Police, and it was obvious where they was going. There was, do I belong to any religious party and whatnot? That's being so hinting at terrorism or homeland terrorism is what they was hinting at.
Yeah.
But we discussed, the content of my website, and I tried to put them right, because no one today has been able to refute what I've written on. I've written over 120,000 words on the Woolwich fraud, and about 20,000 of them actually deal with the family itself. So there can be no harassment there. So I was explaining to these two nice gentlemen the anomalies that you cannot possibly answer, i.e. the bus, why was the bus parked not the bus stop, why was he letting people off, and why did he reverse and exit? And they weren't
how many anomalies would you say there are? Several hundred, yeah?
You couldn't even every single aspect of this hoax has one at least one in there. Mark, nothing about it is.
Because the challenge to anyone that's still sticking to the official version of events and thinks it's outrageous that anyone's questioning it is go through all the anomalies one by one and explain how they could have happened the way we were told they did. And you're going to be there a long time, because it's got to be into the hundreds. And
easily. And most people, I've noticed, although they say they have read it, obviously they haven't read it, Mark, but I say not one person today can refute what I say. It's conclusive, and it makes a lot more sense than what the official version does.
Yeah.
But I don't get attacked as much as I did, but I get attacked a lot. But it'd be like, I'm just a thug or whatever, or talk shit or talk bollocks, but no one will come and tell me why I talk bollocks, or, no one can break it down, because it's irrefutable, mate. Now, so I was talking to these two police, and I told them exactly why I thought it was, or some of the reasons why, and they weren't interested. Now, as I was leaving the police station, about 6:30, I was accompanied to the front door by two detectives, one of who had been in on the interview, the other was a female who I'd never seen before. As we was at the door, she said to me, "Will I take down my articles off of the site out of respect for the family?" And I said, "No, I won't. I have no respect for the family," and left. Now, the thing that you can take from that, Mark, is that I wasn't ordered to take any of the articles down. Therefore, I can't have been harassing them through the articles, because if I was, I would still be guilty of it.
Yeah, they were trying to intimidate you to voluntarily take them down.
Exactly. And I say that the only thing that's ever been removed, that nothing has been removed from my website. The only thing that's ever been removed from that Facebook page is a picture of William Hague with a dick on his head, because he is as I say, and I didn't even post the picture, but the picture has nothing to do with Woolwich whatsoever. Facebook removed it. I say that I thought they was rather harsh in doing so, because I can't think of a bigger fucking dickhead than William Hague. But there you go. So where was the harassment? There wasn't any. So now they've taken my computers to sort of look for something to indicate harassment. I say, how can that be? How can they be looking for a crime when they have no proof of a crime in the first place? Do you know?
Yeah. It's all bollocks, isn't it?
It's very, very sinister. Very, very sinister indeed. I mean, on my computers, I have nearly a 60,000 word article written about the murder of Princess Diana. Do you think that's still going to be on there when I get it back? Probably not. The thing is, Mark, whatever's on there, they couldn't use anyway, because it was illegally taken. And I say that they break every law by placing stuff on there. They can place what the fuck they want on there, because it can't be used in evidence anyway. So They're wasting their fucking time. The thing, what I'm worried about, I say, is things like 60,000 word articles that have taken me, or been written over two years, disappearing. And I have lists.
Did you have them backed up?
I haven't, no. I'm not a computer expert in any way, shape or form, Mark, do you know? I thought people send me stories involving big name people, which I haven't used because slander and libel and whatnot. You know, there isn't sufficient enough evidence, shall we say? And I've been sent lists of well-known paedophiles, which I haven't used. You know, all them. Do I expect them to be on there? No. There's sort of like 2.5, 3 years worth of information collected, if you like, which I expect will be now lost.
So the main focus of your site, obviously over the last year or so, or in recent months, has been various aspects of the Woolwich Rigby thing, and you've been releasing them in instalments, you know, individual articles exploring different aspects of the overall story. But a while back, you were talking about having compiled this book-length article, you know, big enough to actually constitute a book. I think you were saying it's like 120,000 words in that article.
Yeah.
And that was like the big kind of expose on the whole thing. Are you still planning to release that as one long continuous article, or are you now doing the instalments as an alternative to that?
Well, the thing is, now this book-length article, the police can't get it off the computers anyway because it's was written on the website and it's been distributed elsewhere for safekeeping anyway. But, you know, so the police won't be able to get any information, which is what they really wanted the computers for, to see what I had on the fraud. They won't be able to get any of that off the computers anyway. But I started writing it just before the trial started, like late November, early December 2013. And since then, the story, so much more information has come to light, and I say people have changed the story, or you know, that they gave at the time, and it all got a little bit bitty, shall we say, do you know, and having to rectify mistakes and whatnot. Now it is all written, but release it as it was because the story has evolved so much, and I've found out so much more in the meantime, you know. So it would involve a major rewrite.
Yeah.
So but since people was, you know, pushing when's it coming, I decided it would be easier to release it in instalments, rather than make them wait till I'd rewritten the whole thing again.
Right, okay.
And that actually seemed to work better because now I think about it, there's so much information contained within them 120,000 words that it just bombarded people, you know, with evidence and whatnot, going against the official story. And as you know, people's attention spans are very short, and I don't think they would have read it properly or understood it properly, you know, because you have to read it very, very carefully. Yeah. Otherwise you can lose the thread, sort of thing, you know. So I think I was right to do that. And I've released so much information that I have released more or less nearly all of the information. There is a bit more, but the important stuff is already out.
Oh, so it's pretty much all out there now, the main findings.
It is, but people say, well, you know, when I'm going to release this, look back in anger. It has been released, I say, but in instalments. And how much evidence do you need, Mark? You know, I mean, I've proven beyond all doubts that Rigby's fiancée, Amy West, was not an RMP. Now, at Rigby's funeral, she was dressed in full RMP uniform, and she, you know, she was escorted by very high up commanding officers and whatnot, you know, in this RMP uniform, and she has never ever been an RMP. So there you have why is she being paraded as an RMP if she has never been one? Do you know, and why the Prime Minister was there? You know, why she sent it to the Prime Minister as an RMP when she's never been one? The whole thing. I've also proved that the whole thing the cadets, the North London cadets, were very, very involved in it. You know, they was the witnesses, the people who sort of walked past Adebolajo when he was waving his knives about doing his interview and whatnot, are proven that the court case was a fraud. The bus was never mentioned. The bus CCTV was never used. Bus driver was never named. I believe I've named the person who I believe to be the bus driver. I've named him not as fact, as my personal theory on who he was. And once again, he's a cadet, very, very good friends with Amy West. And there's pictures of him and others who took part, or some who definitely took part in Woolwich. I can't say that he definitely, without 100% shadow of doubt, that he took part. But there's a picture of him on the cadets' website that was put on there on the 22nd of May 2013, the day Rigby died, thanking the cadets in the photograph for taking part in the new video for the cadets magazine, or photo shoot for the cadets magazine. A photo shoot on the 22nd of May 2013, when provably some of these cadets are actually at Woolwich. You know, just make your own mind up.
One aspect that I found very interesting in recent weeks was the fact that they hauled in Ingrid Loyo-Kennett, so-called Angel of Woolwich, under the Mental Health Act, I think it was, down in Cornwall. And she was sort of, you know, taken off the streets and hidden away, and we've heard nothing else about her since. I think that speaks volumes in itself. What do you make of what was going on there?
Well, for a start, as far as I'm aware, and I believe I'm right, you can't be detained under the Mental Health Act for being a racist. And that's what it all seems to have sprung from. She was supposedly abused a Nigerian in Tesco's or something or other.
Yeah.
And I say, you know, that isn't justifiable reason to section someone. So whether she's a bit, because I do speak to her neighbours, and she is apparently a bit highly strung. She has been released. She was released not so long. She could have been detained more than 5 days. To be honest.
Yeah, I don't recall seeing anything in the mainstream media about her release.
It wasn't reported, but I speak to her neighbours, and the neighbour told me, about 5 days I think she was away. But the thing is, she was never in court, or her testimony was never in court, although, you know, people were calling for medals for her, and, you know, Boris Johnson was backing medals for her, Cameron was backing medals for her, she received medal from the French, and she was given a say on just about every medium possible. She was constantly on telly and in the newspapers, yet she never wasn't used as a witness in court, and she didn't even have a witness statement read out in court, which incidentally most of the witnesses were statements, meaning that they couldn't be cross-examined. There was only 3 actual eyewitnesses there who weren't either policemen or, you know, paramedics or whatever, just 3 normal people. The rest were witness statements which can't be cross-examined, despite the fact that I have proven beyond all doubt that what is said in the witness statements and ran out in court as fact cannot possibly have happened, proved this by means of CCTV, footage that's available. So, but yeah, for these witness statements to be admissible in court, the defence counsel has to approve them before the trial even started, meaning that they can't be cross-examined, or there's no need to cross-examine them. Yeah. Any barrister, even a beginner really, could have pulled these witness statements to pieces, but they didn't. They was allowed to stand as fact. But anyway, Kennett wasn't at court and wasn't invited to court. Why not? And then
I think she was filming the new Inspector Clouseau movie. She was doing the voiceover.
Well, yeah, very badly as well. Yet, come the first anniversary, the 22nd of May 2014. She was giving massive media attention and a video that was made of her at the scene, yet she was giving completely different versions of what she gave a year prior to that. For instance, you know, where she found Rigby laying, or where Rigby was thrown off the car bonnet well before the sign. Impossible to have been. Where he was in the road when she got to him. Impossible for him to have been. How she took his, she said she put, in this 2004 video, she said she took his pulse, and she put her fingers to her neck, you know, like where they take the pulse from the neck. Impossible, she never did that. What she said at the time was she took his pulse from his wrist. Okay, but now she's saying it's from his neck. But if his neck was as mutilated as what we're told, impossible for her to have done. And she said, you know, she could see no blood or nothing, no injuries. She was surprised he was sort of dead at all, you know. So a completely different versions of events, which is done because I say, you know, she wasn't thought credible enough to use as a witness in court. Yet she's given all this media time, and people are going to believe what she says as fact.
And you've got to wonder what the true nature of her being pulled in was. Maybe it was similar to your scenario in that she was given a little reminder to sort of stay on side and cooperate. Otherwise, we can do things to you. You know,
could well have been. Now I say she has been in the papers before that. Yeah, and she's certainly not what she makes out, and she's not very well liked on the estate that she lives on. I know that for a fact. To be honest, Mark, I'm still not convinced the Ingrid that we see is the Ingrid that we see on the day in the films, because the Ingrid that in the films, and I've got fairly good close-ups of her, looks an awful lot older than what the Kennet that everybody knows is, and she looks a lot wider, a lot stockier, and I'm still not convinced that is the Kennet that we see on the film.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. Do you think the controllers now regret having ever staged this particular stunt, given how it's all starting to blow up in their face? Do you think there's a feeling that they really screwed up on this one and maybe shouldn't have done it? Do you think there's some regret there?
That's a hard one, Mark. Now, I've had it said to me that I'm being used as a pawn in a power struggle. Okay. I mean, my tech guy said long before I heard this, he thinks someone wants the story to come out. Okay. You know, the way it's been made clear, or as clear as possible, for me to get this story out, because, you know, although I've had a lot of attacks on the website, or constant attack, and I've had to upgrade to my own server, had they really wanted, they could have blasted it out of existence, do you know? And it hasn't been. And when it was released, I had a couple of journalists, mainstream media journalists, who said, like, you know, we never thought the story would get out. Obviously, they're not allowed to tell the story. But it was also put to me that maybe I'm being used as a pawn in a power struggle, you know? And rather than unite everybody, it has caused, not, you know, before the divide was between, you know, sort of white Christians and the Muslims, which it was designed to do. By the story getting out now, people are divided between whether my version is correct or the official version is correct. So there's still plenty of arguing going, and as you know, the elites love a big argument. So it's a bit hard to say. I don't know whether it's done the government any damage. What did the most damage probably was putting me in the paper.
Well,
because that, even though they didn't put a link to my website, and never underestimate the power of the papers. And I say I was in the Sun and the Daily Mail, the first and second biggest selling newspapers in the country. So people obviously clicked, you know, to see what all the fuss was about. And far from being attacked, I have gained massive. I can't stress enough how much support from people who've never heard of me before has come through there. Much more than people attacking me. And even if they haven't read it, Mark, people, especially the British people, don't like to see people attacked. You know, just normal people, like, what is it, the British love a loser, or whatever, so, or an underdog. Yeah. And I say, even if they haven't read it, I'm getting support, and the other reason I'm getting support is because of the way I was arrested. I say the middle of the night, 4 thugs, baby in the house, they knew this, illegally, my equipment illegally taken, and people aren't having that because and quite rightly so, they shouldn't have that. You know, we're not East Germany in the 1970s, 80s. You know, it's absolutely ridiculous.
Well, the articles on the Sun and the Daily Mail were, you know, quite small articles. They didn't really go into much detail.
The first article on the Sun, which is still, I've got a case going on, so I can't say too much about it, with the Press Complaints Commission, because they was totally unfair, and they put me and my family a lot. That's still ongoing, although it has been put to the commission. I'm still waiting for the result of that.
Yeah. And Chris, you talk all the time about staged events using actors, you know, hoaxes and stuff, but the cat is out of the bag, mate, because it turns out that you yourself are actually an actor. According to one particular keyboard warrior on Facebook, you're sussed, mate. You know, your cover's been blown. You are actually an actor portraying the part of Chris Spivey. Have you heard that one? Someone Kennedy. David Kennedy or something.
Hollyoaks.
You're a soap actor, really.
Yeah. Funny enough, I always said that, and I made a joke about it. He'd been trying to add me as a friend on Facebook, and I sort of said to him, what do you want to add me for a friend for? You know, this is my Facebook, it's for my friends, you know, not for people. And he said, I want to get a decent photo, because apparently I'm this actor, and this MI5 agent or whatever, or paid operative.
Yeah, sure.
And it's without doubt, right, because of, he's a biometric expert, which is, he studied ears or something, and my ears are the same as this David Kennedy's or whatever his name is.
Must be true then, must be true.
Must be true. So he said, I want a decent picture of your ear, which is a bit weird, isn't it? So I said, well, you know, I thought that you'd already proved beyond all doubt that I was this David Kennedy, this page. You know, I'm this Page Shield, and there's not one shred of evidence to it. Yeah. So I said, well, I'll help you out here. Steve, I call him, because his name's Austin Montague, but some fucking thing. So I call him Steve Austin, which I think gets you going up a little bit. And, you know, I said, I'll make it easier for you, mate. Of course I'm a paid up shield. Of course I'm Dirk Kennedy or whatever his fucking name is. You've proved it. What are you worried about? You don't need to be my friend now. You don't need any pictures of my ears, which is weird. Because I'm admitting to it, you know. So he said, well, give me one bit of concrete proof that these people I name as paedophiles are paedophiles. And I just said to him, I said, well, if I did that, mate, then I am proving to you or what I'm doing by doing that is sort of going against what my bosses want me to do. You know, which is sort of like
your Hollyoaks bosses.
No, my MI5 bosses. Yeah. And Lisa, who does my admin on the Facebook, she's a paid up shield as well. And my daughter, he's done.
Your daughter doesn't exist.
She doesn't exist. Stacey Spivey does live in Southend, but I'm from Rochford. You know, and I say that there's no one living here of that name. So I said, well, there you go. You've got us, you know, and he's putting this down as conclusive proof. He's going to look rather silly, to be honest. Well, he looks rather silly now, but...
There's a nutter in the US by the name of Dallas Goldbug, who many people suspect is a bona fide shill. And he comes out with these theories about everyone's an actor. I don't know if you've heard these, but he maintains that David Icke is really Richard Branson. And, you know, you've got this actor playing the part of David Icke and Richard Branson. So he's going to be a busy fella, isn't he? You know, running a multi-million international corporation, and he still finds the time to be a full-time conspiracy theory researcher. Yeah. And then you've got Luke Rakowski of We Are Change New York, is actually Vladimir Putin's son, because they look a bit alike. So that that must be true. Alex Jones is really Bill Hicks, the late Bill Hicks. He faked his own death, and he came back as Alex Jones because they're both big sort of Texans,
Yeah. Well, this is what this Steve Austin fella does. He does all that, and I can't remember which ones he had, but quite a few people do it. Who's the American, the one who runs for president? Ron Paul. Ron Paul is that actor who was
Ian McKellen.
Ian McKellen, that's the one. There is quite a few people do this.
Are you Yul Brynner? Yeah.
I'm Yul Brynner. I'm Dirk Kennedy, whatever
Phil
his
Mitchell.
name is. Personally, I think I look like Uncle Fester, but that's another story. But when you say that, Mark, now I don't know about politicians playing actors and actors playing politicians, but I'm pretty convinced, although I've not stated it as a fact because I wouldn't do because I'm the proof, but I'm pretty convinced that The White Widow, which, as you know, is an absolutely pathetic story. We shouldn't really have to even explain why it's a pathetic and improbable story.
Yep.
I've got some more evidence on her coming out, incidentally. That one of the people, because like all these people, like Rigby, and all these people, they're all played by a variety of actors, 3 or 4 different ones to confuse people's minds, so people just accept as fact what is written in the newspaper.
Yeah, you think there really is validity to the idea that you have actors playing different parts?
Some of it, because I have pictures up of Samantha Luthway, who doesn't. I believe that in some pictures she is Rebecca Rigby, in other pictures she is Adele, and in one picture she is Lily Allen, taken from a Lily Allen photo.
Yeah.
Now,
what you're saying is that pictures of Adele and Lily Allen have been manipulated to incorporate her face, rather than there's a character playing the part of all these people.
Now, the Lily Allen one hasn't even been so much manipulated. It's had like a head covering, head veil put over it and whatnot. That's all it's had done to it. I say that the photo proof is in my articles. The Adele one, I came across that quite by accident, actually, because there was this picture of Samantha Luthway without any veil or hood up, a black and white picture it was, and she looked completely different. I say because in most of the pictures she looks like Rebecca Rigby does. So, and I didn't take it too much. I just thought that's really different. That looks nothing like her. And then I can't remember. I was reading something, and there was an advertisement for an Adele CD, and I thought, bloody hell, that looks like that. And I put the two together, and it did. Now I then googled Adele without makeup, and all these pictures come up. And well, as I say, you've only got to look in the on my website, and you'll see the amazing styling results there.
Yeah.
So I don't say there's nothing in this, other people playing other people. And if you think about it, Rebecca Rigby, who isn't who she claims to be, without a doubt, which I prove beyond all doubt in my articles, it would make sense that if she was a crisis actor or sort of one of these people, who played their role in these false flags, it would make sense to have them together, rather than using new people all the time and risking discovery and whatnot, And on top of that, the obviously Samantha Luthway, she was married to the 7/7 bomber, Jermaine Lindsay, who coincidentally looks amazingly like Michael Adebowale, who was kept very, very well back throughout the Woolwich scenario. Yeah. And there are a lot more ties to 7/7, the 7/7 false flag bombing and Woolwich than you would ever imagine possible. Like I say, the policeman Peter Sparks, DCI Peter Sparks, who gave hearsay evidence at the 7/7 inquest. He knew all the main players in Woolwich long before the Woolwich episode took place. I've got pictures of him in the club that they use, pissed as a parrot playing air guitar.
Yep.
Yeah, he is the chief liaison officer for the families in the Woolwich, you know, and so many coincidences that it goes beyond coincidence.
Well, the two events very much go hand in hand, don't they?
Of course they do. Of course they do. And I say so. I wouldn't dismiss other people playing other people to some extent out of hand. As for me being Dirk Kennedy, that's absolutely ridiculous. And as for David Icke being Richard Branson, that is absolutely ridiculous. Bill Hicks being Alex Jones, ridiculous. Ron Paul being...
Well, you got to wonder if these ridiculous theories are put out there to discredit the very idea that you could have actors playing multiple parts in, you know, different walks of life, so that anyone who suggests that, such as yourself, can be discredited by somebody saying, oh, you know, that's as ridiculous as saying David Icke is Richard Branson. You know, you lump it all together, and the very idea that actors could be playing these parts gets thrown out. You know, you've got to wonder if that's what the strategy is here.
Well, I mean, I can't speak to David Icke, but I know there is never enough hours in the day. I mean, I have about 9 people altogether helping me out on the website. You know, I have a tech guy who's kept full-time busy by it. I have moderators, administrators. I have the Facebook page and the site, because I'd never be able to manage it on my own. I never, ever have enough hours in the day just doing this, let alone doing anything else, you know. Exactly. So that alone makes it... It's stupid, you know. And then you've only got to look where I live. I live in a small 2-bedroom housing association flat, riddled with damp. You know, and there's no luxury, nothing that could be classed as luxurious here. So, you know, I'm not even raking it in from Hollyoaks. And
not much of a salary, is it?
It isn't, not at all, mate. Not at all. So it's you know, it is nonsense, but people do put disinfo out there. My advice to anybody would be stay clear of that. Now, I'm not saying that it's all total bollocks, Mark. Like I say, indeed, take 9/11. The victims, when the pictures of victims have been proven to be reused as other people as much as 4 times, just by, you know, taking the background out and reversing the photo and altering the images similar, you know, slightly to make them look like different people. And this has been proved, and that makes sense because obviously they're saying that 3,000 people died. They would have 3,000 families to contend with and be asking questions. And the less people died, the less families to sort of answer to, you know. So that makes sense. And I say using crisis actors over and over again, which once again Sandy Hook and 9/11, the witnesses have turned up in other things, you know.
Yep.
To show that they do. That makes sense. But anything using big name people, Richard Branson, David Icke, and the such like, I would stay away with it. Stay away from it, and look to things that can be proven, rather than you know, speculation. Because you can look very silly.
Well, it's probably a good point to move on to an event that's very topical at this time that we're talking, which is the ISIS so-called beheading video of the journalist Foley. As with Woolwich and so many other things, when any researcher first suggests that this sort of thing could be a staged hoax, there's absolute outrage from a lot of people who think it's in appalling taste for anyone to make that suggestion, and you know, it's just outrageous that anyone could say these things. But I know that you've done a bit of analysis on this video that's doing the rounds, and something else to say about this is we've had the incredible story this week that the police are saying that they are considering taking action against anyone that chooses to watch this video. Apparently now we're being policed in terms of what we can make the free will conscious choice as adults to watch ourselves. And it really feels to me like we've crossed a line with this, because it's straight out of the thought police of George Orwell's 1984. So do you just want to share some of your findings on the video itself? And what's your reaction to this police stance that you're not allowed to watch it?
Now, first of all, this has appeared, to my knowledge, in 2 papers, so I don't know how many more it has, but it appeared in the Independent and the Guardian, with the police saying that you could be arrested for watching the film, for downloading the film, or for disseminating the film, trying to say, oh, it's not real or whatever.
Yeah.
And neither of these 2 national papers from the so-called Free Press registered any horror or dissent against this police threat. You know, and they should have been up in arms about it, saying that how can this be so in a democratic country? You can't. What it's saying basically is, we're telling you this man was beheaded, and don't try even so much look at it to try and say no, that it wasn't, because if you do, we're going to arrest you. Okay, so you're now.
It's intimidation again, isn't it?
You are not allowed. Same as what my arrest was, Mark. Going back to my arrest, that was all about intimidation. This, look, if you say something that we don't, upsets us, this is what's going to happen to you.
Yeah.
And the press, once again, the press had me the next day in the newspaper. Who told them? Who told them?
Yeah.
So this is what this is about. If you so much as watch this video, we're going to arrest you. Now, I'm quite forceful and whatnot, but a lot of people aren't. A lot of people are afraid, and they will go by that.
Actually, you know what it reminds me of? You remember the Lord McAlpine accusations?
It is very like that.
And then you had people like Alan Davis, the comedian, that sort of shared Sally Burko's comment about the innocent face thing. Why is McAlpine tweeting? And then McAlpine's lawyers came down heavy and said, we're going to take action against anyone. And then you had Alan Davis and others clamouring to apologise and make a donation to, a charity.
It was done to frighten people.
Terrified of getting themselves into trouble and backtracking straight away.
It did work, because people, then he set up a thing that you had to send £5 or whatever to this charity.
And so many people did.
They did, yeah, without so much as receiving a letter. But it's very much like that. But it's worse than that in a way, because this has come out as the video has been released. Well, who released the video anyway? Was that ISIL, but they released it to who? For it to get this sort of audience anyway. But the police threat was released at the same time. Now, I say that to me is even worse than McAlpine's lawyer saying, if you retweet or print my name, I'm going to sue you. Because who is going to sue? Who's been libelled, if you like,
by watching this video,
by saying the video is fake. Now I will tell you, because I'm not afraid of arrest, the beheading is fake, and I have an article coming out later today on this, and I've taken it frame by frame. So yes, I've watched it. That's an arrestable offence apparently. I haven't downloaded it. I didn't need to download it. I just took screenshots of it. I suppose that's almost the same. So that's an arrestable offence. And I'm telling you that it's total bollocks. There was no beheading there, and I will prove to you later today that it was total bollocks.
Everything else is fake and staged these days. Why would this be any different?
And did you see the fellow who did it?
Ali G, wasn't
it? Mate, I read it, and I could not believe that I was reading it in the second biggest selling newspaper in the country.
Well, they can't get the actors.
He's called John.
Yeah, he's called John from London, yeah.
And he's part of a small band from ISIS who they call the Beatles.
Well, they didn't have any Arabic speakers on their roster, so they had to use John from London.
John the Beatle,
yeah.
the ISIS Beatle. I couldn't believe I was right. And this is how totally pathetic the whole thing is. But the thing is, while it's pathetic, it's deadly fucking serious, mate, because they are going to use this beheading to take us into a war which will quickly escalate to a World War III. Now, anyone who knows anything about history will know that the wars 1, 2, and the one to come, 3, were all planned at the same time towards the end of the 1800s. That's the 19th century. End of the 19th century, and we had the first 2 as predicted, and the third one they've been trying to start it for the last couple of years, really, at least, if not before. And now we're on the 100th anniversary, sort of World War One. They're really trying to start it, and anyone who thinks they don't is very silly. I mean, had Cameron got his back in for Syria, we could have been there already. That didn't work, so now he's trying to use the premise of this beheading of an American journalist, beheaded in over 3,000 miles away, as an excuse for military action. Now, I can take this video, and I do take this video to bits. There was no beheading there. So you can't tell me that the security services haven't done the same, although they're supposedly still working on it. What a load of bollocks. And on this, the excuse of this false fake video, he's going to use it to use military action against Iraq. And I say that is going to escalate, and before you know it, we're going to have a World War III, which is what they want. So pathetic as it is, these stories about Samantha Luthwaite and John the Beetle ISIS man beheading this journalist when he doesn't. It also has a very, very serious consequence to it.
Just before we start to wrap up then, there's one more thing that I do want to address with you. A few weeks ago, we had the Leon Britton dossier story, which actually hit the mainstream press. And it really did feel for a while as if the lid was going to be lifted on the whole vile, disgusting, depraved, perverted nature of the British establishment, and how it's steeped in paedophilia and sexual depravity and all kinds of other disgusting, ugly, nasty behaviour. And then, just as the Leon Britton story hit the mainstream press, and of course it was all over the alternative media as well, we had two things happen, which was Israel's genocide against Gaza and the MH17 Malaysian jet scenario over the Ukraine. And suddenly all the Leon Britton stuff and all these headlines about paedophilia disappeared and have not been seen in the mainstream since. Do you feel that that was an opportunity lost to finally expose all this stuff to the general public? And do you feel that opportunity is going to come round again? Or do you feel the Gaza and MH17 situations were a very useful way of diverting attention and getting people to forget all about it?
Once again, Mark, we was actually going to talk about something, and we haven't done. We were going to talk about, the way that people are waking up, if you like, for want of a better word.
Well, yeah, it brings us back round to that.
Yeah. Now, this is all intertwined with all this, politicians' names sort of being brought up and then buried. Now, you asked me earlier if I thought people was waking up quickly.
Yeah.
Yes, they're waking up probably quicker now than any other time. But this is what the rush is to start this next World War. It was done on the First World War. There was a lot of unrest amongst the population, and start a war and it takes it away. Now the way things are going, I think they're having a real hard job of keeping this paedophile business under wraps, because it's hitting them from every direction now, and people are coming forward in their droves about it, and names are being released in the public. Cliff Richard, for a start. Yep. We've been talking about him for 2 years now. And they've only just got round to doing it. So Rolf Harris, I talked about Rolf Harris. I knew about Rolf Harris long before he was arrested or even questioned. And I was reporting I was being attacked for it, and not Rolf Harris. Now you're talking bollocks and whatnot. Lo and behold, he's in prison now. So all these names have been bandied around for a long time in the alternative media, but quite by the mainstream media. And I think now that they are having a real hard time holding the truth back, the same Woolwich, and I'm not saying this just because it's me who's exposed it. That is potentially devastating to the government, because for that to happen, like I say, which makes a lot more sense, it would have had to come from the highest authority in the land, MI5 and the security service, and they cannot decide themselves to do something like that, you know. It has to come. And obviously, by the very nature of Cameron's actions, he was involved in it, and it had to have been okayed by the Queen, because the security services have a meeting every week with the Queen, you know that. So potentially, that is a real danger. And I think this is partly the reason that, you know, well, I know it's why they've had my computers away, to have a look what else I've got on the Woolwich fraud. But why I've been targeted, and the Metropolitan Police know about me, Cardiff Police know about me, you know, the people who shouldn't know about me for misdemeanor, yet they all know, you know, they're mentioning me. Yeah. And this, I think, is the rush to get military action started, to sort of divert attention away from these real things that could bring their house crashing down. And I say, with the amount of people waking up quicker than ever before, not quick enough, but certainly quicker than any other time in history, they're having a panic. So, I mean, yeah, they're trying to divert attention away, but at the same time, I say that the main focus, in my opinion, is they want war.
But also, it's a vicious circle, because the more they try and impose the control system that they've wanted for so long, and the more they sort of militarise the police and turn the country into a fascist state, the more it does tend to alert people that all is not well and something's going on. And that in turn is going to cause many people to start waking up and start asking a few questions.
Indeed, and I say, this is what I say, people who had never ever heard of me, were coming to my website to see what was what, and giving me their support, even though they hadn't read what I'm saying, because they wasn't giving me the support of what I'd written. They're giving me the support because they know that it's wrong to be sending thugs round in the middle of the night to arrest people on misdemeanor, you know. And likewise, I say, you know, when they read stories about if you look at this video, we're going to arrest you, even if they don't fully understand why you're not allowed to look at this video. And it's not nothing, because you know, Mark, on the internet you can find hundreds of videos of people being beheaded. You know, so why aren't you allowed to look at this one?
Yeah, a line's been crossed there, and you've got to be in a serious state of denial not to see that.
And I say this affects everybody, and that's by coming out with these, you know, you're going to be arrested, you're going to be arrested. That affects people, whereas they tend to ignore things that you know don't affect them.
Yeah.
So they are shooting themselves in the foot there. But I think, you know, I believe that there's some sort of power struggle going on between the powers, behind the powers, if you understand what I mean, you know. And I don't doubt that I'm probably being used as a bit of a pawn in their power war, you know. But certainly they're panicking. I would say panicking is probably not the right word. You know, they're very concerned about the way that people are cottoning onto them.
I think they are panicking. I mean, I'm seeing signs of desperation on their part, to be honest, with all the stuff.
Well, and you know, I was really surprised when Rolf Harris got convicted, because I was predicting that he wouldn't be. You know. Now, no doubt Rolf Harris knows. But, I mean, is he in prison? It's very funny that recently, just last week, there was two stories. One about him cowering it between the pews in church because someone spit on him. Now, don't forget that he'd be away from the mainstream anyway. You know, he'd be with the sex offenders and whatnot. But he was cowering between the seats in the church because someone had spat on him. And there was also another... he was... doing doodles for people, signed doodles for prisoners to keep in their good books. And he's in Blunderstone prison. Now, it's very, very strange that they're reporting on where he is, because no one knows where Adebayo is, or Adebowale, or
Luthwaite.
or any of them, do you know? It's almost as if they're bringing these stories out, these non-stories, to sort of reinforce the fact that he is in prison. which makes me think, well, maybe he's not in prison at all. Do you know?
What do you think the value is to the control system of the likes of Rolf Harris being thrown to the dogs and stuff about Cliff Richard coming out? Because you would think that the mainstream media being controlled as it is, we all know that the corporate controlled media is in the pockets of, you know, those that call the shots higher up.
That's why you're not reading about Gaza.
Well, exactly. But, you know, they kept the lid on the Savile thing until after he died, and they successfully managed to suppress all that coming out for 50 years or so. And yet now you've got stuff like Rolf Harris coming out, and they're all sirs, and people are cotton on to the fact that all these sex offenders are actually sirs. They've been knighted. So, you know, why is the Queen knighting all these paedophiles? You would think that they could have kept the lid on these sort of stories in terms of the mainstream media if they'd chosen to. So you've got to wonder why they're being allowed to come out.
Maybe. The thing is, though, up until Savile was outed, none of the victims dared come forward. You see, now, once Savile was named, you had this whole influx of people coming forward, and then other names came out that had never, been reported before. Yeah. So that makes it a little bit harder to keep the lid on it anyway. When you've got hundreds of people reporting Harris,
people are more confident to come forward because they're going to be believed now.
Exactly, and they've done their damnedest, Mark, as you know, their damnedest to deter victims. You know, they tell them to come forward, and then when they come forward, there's hurdles put in their way and veiled threats and whatnot to deter them. So it's like, come here, so we can slap you. So rather than come here, so we can help you. But I say until Savile was outed, there wasn't the people coming forward. Now you've got them coming forward in hundreds and hundreds, and it makes it much more difficult to do nothing about or to sweep it under the carpet. You know.
And still, you know, nobody in the mainstream is drawing the connection between all these paedophiles just happening to have been knighted, just happening to be sirs, and saying, why is it that the Queen just happens to have knighted so many paedophiles? It goes beyond coincidence. Nobody's drawing that conclusion. Nobody's asking that question.
No, but that's like you said, the mainstream media is owned, body and soul, by six families. So, well, yeah. you know, they're not journalists. They're repeaters. They take all their news from one sheet and just rewrite it. You know, just reword it, and they're not allowed to question it or anything. You know. And I had a couple of journalists speak to me when I released the first lot of Rigby stuff, saying, you know, I can't believe that it's been released. It's out there now. We thought it would never see the light of day. So they know about it. And they know about it, but they can't do nothing about it. Yeah. Do you know? So, you can see why the newspapers haven't made a connection with the royal family. I think other people, there can't be many people who haven't. I mean, let's say, these, the likes of Harris or Savile are thoroughly vetted. Now, the police knew about Harris in at least in the late 1950s. Okay. So when he started getting his knighthood in the early 70s or whatever, they had to have known about him. Had to have known about him. So the royal family are well aware. Now the question was, why is in photos where Charles is meeting Savile, is Charles so obviously delighted to see him?
Yeah, glee on his face.
Yeah, and most of the time, these people, you know, they were sour-faced as a bulldog chewing a wasp, you know, and yet they meet these paedophiles, and you can see the genuine warmth between them. Do you know? Yeah. They're pleased. It's not just they're going through a role here. They're genuinely pleased to be in these people's company.
Yeah, in every photo as well with Charles.
In every photo, not just Savile. Every photo, and you know, well, you don't have to ask yourself why, because logic.
Birds of a feather flock together.
Of course they do. And it's well known. Phillips, being brought up by his uncles, the Mountbattens, who were both deeply perverted, sick people, and the way that Philip, having known this and been abused by them, then put Charles in the care of his abuser. You know, for him to do that, it's I think it's tradition, Mark.
Yeah. Okay. Just as we start to wrap up, then, Chris. Obviously, you've made some big personal sacrifices yourself. You put your life on hold and your business on hold to be doing what you're doing with this information. And I just wonder, what's your ultimate hope and aim in releasing this information? What would you like to see happen as a result? And also, people, when they hear this information, they may well take it on board and understand that it's valid and it's true, but they often feel disempowered. And they feel like the situation is all hopeless. What can someone listening to this do to assist in the whole process of bringing this corrupt, evil system to its knees?
Okay. Now, like I said to you, this Woolwich thing has the potential to bring the government crashing down, because their involvement in such a major play makes them ungovernable, really. Makes them not fit for purpose. So I'm determined now, because this Woolwich has cost me dear. I say, you know, apart from the website being attacked, being dragged out, and my daughter's now scared to death to stay on her own and whatnot. And my life is in real danger. Not even so much from me disappearing, but just from patriots or people who think they're patriots, putting a petrol bomb through my window or something. So it's cost me dear. So I'm determined now not to let it die, because this is a real chance. This Woolwich, you've only got to read what I say. Don't anyone listening now, don't just say, oh, well, he's going to say that. Go and have a look and have a read of it. Don't just read the first couple of them. Read it all. And I can guarantee they will be left in no doubt that the government orchestrated this abominable act for the purposes, not just for the purpose of dividing Muslims and for a better word, your Englishmen. Not just for that. On top of that, they've added £3.4 billion added to the security services budget, while all the other budgets have been cut, taking spending to £17 billion next year on the security budget, which is all not about keeping tabs on so-called terrorists. It's keeping tabs on the population, because terrorism doesn't exist as such. Statistically, and this isn't one of those throwaway statistics. This is a proper bona fide statistic. You have 20 million to 1 chance of being killed by a terrorist in this country. 9.3 billion % chance worldwide of being killed by a terrorist. It doesn't exist, and it doesn't qualify these security services having a £17 billion budget when every other service is being cut and people are starving and homeless in this country. It doesn't warrant it, And I say it's not about terrorists. It's about people like me, classed as homeland terrorists, keeping tabs on me, keeping tabs on people who read my site, keeping tabs on anyone who shows any kind of dissent or any disagreement with government policy, and that's what it's all about. So that's why it's so important to to keep things like Woolwich, keep them in the news, keep pressing about these paedophile politicians, keep shouting about it, because it is all true.
Don't let it die off the way that Leon Britton story is.
And that's the worst thing that can happen. Now, Woolwich has gone a bit quiet, but it's only gone a bit quiet because there are plans which have nothing to do with me, I've got to add, plans afoot for mass campaigns to promote it. Okay. And I've been writing about other things. The bail conditions haven't shut me up because they mean nothing to me. I tell you now, they mean nothing to me. And I am also at this moment writing another one, but it takes in that shooting in America, that false flag, that Michael Brown shooting, which is a lot more to that than people realise. And so it's sort of grown a lot bigger, so it would take a little while longer to release. But it might be a little bit quiet on all this now, but it's going to blow right up again very, very soon. And I say, anybody who thinks they can't do nothing, that's what the government are counting on, people not doing anything. Just by telling other people about it, even if they think, you're talking shit or you're talking rubbish, just keep shouting about it, just keep telling people about it, just keep banging the drum, and it will get there, believe me.
Yeah. All right, Chris, and just remind people of your website, and also, are you taking any more Facebook friend requests, or are you maxed out on that?
Facebook requests. I accept most people, but I won't accept people now with under 20 friends, and if their account doesn't, include so many photos of themselves or very vague information or lack of information, and I say less than 20 friends, they won't be accepted. Apart from that, yeah, I'll take anybody on. And the website is www.chrisspivey.org.
Okay. All right, Chris, many thanks for coming on today. Much appreciated.
My pleasure, Mark.